Hi everybody, this is Noelle from Petitti's and we're at Oakwood Village. It's a quiet morning, later July, and we wanted to show you all of the color that is here in the store, especially in the perennial area. Obviously, a lot of customers come in, thank you so much, in May and June, and we're doing a lot of planting, but you miss out on some of the color here at the store, especially for pollinator plants and really, really attractive plants. So you're gonna see down the runways at Oakwood, Stella does an awesome job in perennials, and we've got cone flowers. We have, actually, this is such a cool plant. This spiky thing is actually a perennial sunflower, okay? And what they look like is the sunflowers are probably about 2 inches wide when they come out, and they have a nice little brown middle, but really cute. And I love the foliage on this plant, that spikiness. You just don't get that kind of texture from very many plants. So it's a really good combo with the coneflowers and the perennial sunflower. If we keep coming this way, you see the purple and the yellow, and we always like to contrast these colors. You've got Verbena here. This is an upright verbena, Verbena bonariensis. These plants are kind of interesting. They're more like a biennial, if you will, where they will reseed heavily. You want them to reseed for you, and you will get a crop year after year after year with them. But they really are a great cut plant, dry flower. Great. Any of the verbenas, the annual verbena or the perennial verbena types, they all have a series or like a cluster of very, very small, sort of purpley, tubular flowers, and they are awesome for the pollinators. They love them. And of course, coupling them with the Rudbeckia or the black-eyed Susans is always a great combo. They look so fabulous. When Taylor and I were out here this morning, we were kind of looking at different plant material and seeing where the bees went first, and they actually went to the Agastaki. So I'm gonna have Taylor turn this way. There's a yellow Agastaki, or false Aesop is what we call it. These are in full bloom. There's so many different colors. We've got the yellow. You're gonna see that kind of peachy color up here as well, and coupled with the coneflowers. But a lot of the pollinators are right around the Agastaki this morning. A few are around the coneflowers, but they really are definitely loving this plant. This is in the mint family. It's a very, very good grower for us. All the mints are. And I'm going to tell you, it's very, very aromatic. The foliage is aromatic on it. The flowering is very aromatic. So it's a great deer-resistant perennial out there too for full sun. And we'll show you some more colors as we keep going. You're going to start seeing some of the fruit on these plants here. And this is actually St. Johnswort. There's a couple different varieties here. You've got a peach berry and then also a red berry. And St. Johnswort is also Hypericum, and they are a little bit more shrubby in the landscape, if you will, probably about the 2-foot mark, maybe around 30 inches or so, but really, really great cut flower and cut berry, of course. So they're really neat. And look at them with the phlox. The phlox, the tall upright phlox or garden phlox right now, are really coming into beautiful coloration, big, bold flowers. Really, really fragrant on these phlox. So they're a good pollinator plant as well, especially hummingbirds love to get their nose right in there, but they do really well in the garden. Again, a lot of air circulation around these plants at this time of year. When it's hot and humid, wet, and then dry, you do end up seeing, you know, sometimes some powdery mildews and things occurring. Sometimes on garden phlox, their bottom leaves tend to get brown. It has to do with a lot of the splashing in irrigation and also rainfall. So just if you can keep them with good air circulation and spacing around them, that's going to really reduce on a lot of the fungal issues too. We'll keep moving back here. Golly, Russian sage is really coming up. Look at, so you're going to get a lot of color with Russian sage. So with the Russian sage, they hate growing in pots. They will stretch. This is actually the variety called Little Spire, okay? Little Spire is usually maybe 20 inches tall. So just remember, hate growing in pots, love to be in the ground, love to be in well-drained, hot, sunny areas. But again, beautiful combinations here, again with the yellow. So of course you're gonna see a lot of the black-eyed Susans. In this case, it's a green-eyed Susan. And these types of Rudbeckia, just so you're aware, again, more of like a biennial type. They really come back very well from seed, but you've got to let those flower heads go to seed, drop, and you can help them drop their seed or distribute their seed at the end of August, beginning of September, and you'll get plenty of Rudbeckia the next year as well. This is a really beautiful plant. I've probably pointed it out before because I love the foliage color at this time of year. This is Eupatorium or Joe Pye weed. This is the one called Chocolate. And obviously it gets its name from that chocolate colored foliage. I'm gonna tell you, out of many, many plants that I have grown, this plant is super deer resistant. They don't even touch it, not even the babies. Well, maybe I've seen a baby like nibble a bit off, but I'm telling you, Joe Pye weed is an excellent, excellent deer resistant plant to grow. This one produces a white bloom on it, and I'm gonna tell you, the white blooms do go to seed, so be prepared. I would definitely deadhead it before it goes to seed so you don't have chocolate Joe Pye weed everywhere. Grasses are coming into really their own. They're not quite at bloom stage yet. Well, there's a couple that have already bloomed, and those are going to be the Calamagrostis. They call them feather reed grasses, and we've kind of showed you those when they were in full bloom. They have sort of pink plumes on them. Now they've sort of browned out, look more wheat colored, but the rest of the grasses are kind of filling in as you go. The ones that really stick out when it's a kind of a cloudy day in the morning are the banded varieties. This one's porcupine down behind me here, but you'll see a lot of the banded varieties. There's so many different banded varieties now. They're all Japanese silvergrass or miscanthus, and some of them are teeny tiny like little kitten, and they just keep on filling out and growing up. So you'll see a lot of banded varieties there. And then this white striped one here, this is variegatus. It's one of your taller miscanthus varieties, probably around full 4 to 5 foot when it gets full grown. Really pretty solid bands of creamy white on this one. So they're looking gorgeous. The Asclepius here is looking gorgeous. This is silky Asclepius. It has this beautiful two-tone flower to it, red buds, red petals, and then the yellow in the center. Obviously a taller Asclepius, really, really cool plant. There are other butterfly weeds here. It's also known as butterfly weed. And so just haven't quite got blooming just yet. Some of them are blooming out there in the landscape, but the silky is looking beautiful. And then I wanted to show you the other colors of Agastaki as you move through here, light pinks. This is probably more common, that periwinkle or lavender blue color. But look at this one. Oh my gosh, this is Kudos Coral. Again, just very, very minty, awesome, awesome plants. And then there is this Apricot Delight yarrow, and the yarrows are looking really good too. And we're almost on that cut back phase of yarrow where you can cut the flower stems very low, leave the basal foliage, that ferny foliage, and they'll fill out again and repeat bloom. And you'll see this on the yellow here. And this one has already been cut back, and so it is producing new flowering stems, and you can see the buds down here. I'm moving into daylilies, and this one right here is Ruby Stella, and you can tell this is a fairly tall Ruby Stella. Again, probably growing in the pots. It has stretched a little bit more, but this is like your Stella d'Oro, your repeat blooming daylily. So Ruby Stella has a beautiful sort of scarlet red, slightly maroonish color to it. Yellow throat, really, really pretty, and great repeat bloomer, because you can see all the spent flowers. They just last for a day, they're a daylily, but then look at all the buds that are coming up right behind it too. With these daylilies, remember, if you get a seed pod So, and sometimes customers will wait until they're all bloomed out, and then they develop these green seed pods, because sometimes it's hard to tell if it's a seed pod or a new bud. So if you wait until they're all bloomed out, remove these seed pods, okay, all the way down on the stem, and I want you to take the stem. So this stem was 3-pronged, okay, and it still has just a few buds still developing on it. But when this is all finished, go ahead and you want to take the stem down. Oh my gosh, and there's another side shoot with this one. Take the stem all the way down into the foliage and remove it all the way down there. Do not leave the seed pods on your daylilies, or it'll zap all the energy out of the plant and they won't rebloom as well. So make sure that you're deadheading those, and especially taking that long finished blooming stem down. I've got this beautiful double orange. This is Kwanzaa. Looks kind of like that ditch lily, if you will. But look at that, those doubled petals. It's almost triple petaled, really. Doesn't have the pollen sacs, the antheridia on this flower. They've kind of all turned into petals, if you will. So really beautiful, gorgeous, gorgeous color and plant there. This is Garden Show, and Taylor's gonna take a close-up of this one, I'm sure, but look at how large this daylily flower is. Beautiful, kind of deep purple, mauvey purple, green throat, really pretty contrast. And then I wanted to show you this dark double. This is Night Embers, and look at that, deep kind of bronzy, copper, burgundy, and then again, double flowering. It does have some of the pollen sacs in it. So kind of a really neat daylily there. Just unusual color, really, really pretty flower. So on the runway here, going back into nursery, we wanted to show you that some of the hibiscus or Rosa Sharon trees are starting to bloom. So let me see if I can get in here. There is a big bumblebee in here, Taylor. I think he's sleeping a little bit. But, oh, he just fell down. But look at that doubled lavender bloom. This is lavender chiffon. The chiffon series are a doubled blooming Rosa Sharon. There's tree forms obviously here. Your tree forms can probably get a good 10 to 15 foot tall on a standard trunk like this. This is probably like a 4-foot standard trunk, but you can get the shrub form too. So it just kind of depends what you want to use them for. But Rosa Sharon are great, great pollinator plants. The chiffon series is doubled. It's really, really prolific blooming, produces buds, you know, basically from the bottom of the branches all the way to the tips of the branches. So this is just getting started and it's going to look gorgeous. Sweet Summer Panicle Hydrangea down below, beautiful, beautiful, heavy flowers, very, very full panicles here on this plant, and this one will stay kind of creamy white until we get later in the season, and then it'll start to blush and pink, which is really great. We have some evergreen foliage color down below, the Paris japonicas. If you're gonna plant the Panicle hydrangeas in like a part shady aspect, that 4 to 6 hours, you can plant the Paris japonica, or Andromeda, sometimes people call it. This is Mountain Fire. You can plant these together and they do make a nice combination. Again, that red tip on the new foliage is always really, really pretty on these plants. Down below here, look at this, coral drift. The drift roses, I love. They are constantly, constantly blooming, sitting in a pot. They basically sit there and do their thing, and really clean foliage. We don't spray them here at all. So there's very clean foliage on them, and they just bloom and bloom and bloom and bloom, and they are just nonstop. So I absolutely love the drift varieties. Coral's one of your brighter colors, but there's a lot of soft colors too, pinks and reds and all different. So definitely check the drift roses out. So right here we have My Monet Weigela in front, and I'm starting very, very low. And this Weigela is definitely a dwarf, very, very low growing. It does bloom sort of a medium to light pink trumpet type bloom, if you will. But The foliage on this plant is spectacular, and I think it really does well in that partial shade condition where the colors can really develop. If they're in full sun, it might fade out here and there, but you've got pink and red and white and green all on the same plant. Just a great edge, front of the border type shrub. Behind it is spirea. This is one of the varieties called Rainbow Fizz. Really pretty. I'm going to tell you, spirea are such an easy plant to grow in the landscape, full sun, part shade areas, where you just need a reliable, easy bloomer. When they do bloom, they're a pollinator attractant. They're fairly deer resistant. I have seen deer nibble on them every once in a while, but normally it's nothing to really, harm them in the long run. But great repeat bloomers, and the foliage colors change. Your foliage is usually a different color in the spring versus the summer versus the fall. So you've got this changeable leafy plant that looks great 3 seasons. This combination is actually really neat for sunny areas, so 6 or more hours of direct sunlight. We've got some Panicle Hydrangea behind us. The Panicle Hydrangeas here are actually quick fire and fire and ice. Both of them end up really pinking up and getting a nice deep sort of rosy red, almost cerise color as we get later into the season. So that's a really good option. And then right in front, this is a spirea called Double Play Doozy. And it is really a cool plant. And Taylor will take some kind of close-ups on this, but with this spirea, it's blue-green foliage underneath. New foliage is this beautiful sort of maroon burgundy on top, and it goes with the flowers. And with the Double Play series, they constantly are blooming. They don't produce seed, so those flowers are very productive, very vigorous. Angelo talks about keeping your plants vegetative. You don't even have to worry about this plant not producing new buds and new flowers for you. It just keeps coming. And then look at the bright yellow shock down here of the cypress. This is yellow mops. And it's beautiful. I love the color going right into the white and soon to be pink Panicle Hydrangeas. It's a cool combo. Behind me, we were mentioning the drift roses earlier, and right behind me are all the different colors of drifts. There's some knockouts right over here to my right as well, and some oh-so-easies. And you can tell, even at this time of year, with the heat and the sun that comes on, the roses nowadays, especially your shrub, your ground cover type, your repeat blooming types, they love it out here. And again, the foliage is fairly clean. You don't see a lot of spotting or mildews. They just bloom and bloom and bloom and just keep on going. So do check out the roses. There's still quite a few available out there. And again, if you have a hot, sunny area where you do want some color, you want some flowers for vases or what have you, definitely rose options. There are plenty. Enjoy.